But there is one thing I want all of us to understand this very evening. We are facing a very formidable array of enemies, both external and within. And we are going to overcome each and every one of these obstacles.
It is the question that has turned every street corner, every WhatsApp group, and every market stall into a makeshift courtroom. We are looking at a man who, to some, is a liberator, a prophet, a voice for the voiceless. But to the federal government of Nigeria and Justice James Omotosho of the Federal High Court, he is a convict, a terrorist, and a man who must spend the rest of his natural life behind bars in Sokoto Prison. The headline asks the question we are all thinking. What did he even do? We are not talking about sentiments today. We are talking about the charge sheet. We are talking about the 7 counts that stuck. You see, for years, the narrative has been about agitation, about flags, about radio broadcasts. But when the gavel fell on Thursday, November 20th, 2025, it wasn't about flags. It was about treasonable felony and acts of terrorism. And this is where it gets very interesting and, frankly, a bit confusing for the average person. Because what the government calls terrorism, his supporters call free speech. And that is the debate we are going to crack open today. Let's start with the heaviest anchor that sank the ship, the broadcasts. The prosecution, led by Adegboyega Awomolo, S.An., didn't just bring witnesses. They brought recordings. They played audio clips from Radio Biafra. Now ask yourself, is speaking on the radio a crime? In a democracy, we say no. But the court ruled that these weren't just talk shows. They were directives. The judgment specifically cited broadcasts where Nnamdi Kanu allegedly issued orders that led to the deaths of security personnel. The government argued that when he said, "Don't let them sleep," and then police stations were attacked, there was a direct line of cause and effect. This is where I want you to pause and think. If a leader shouts, "Fire," in a crowded theater and people get trampled, is he responsible for the trampling? The court said, yes. Justice Omotosho ruled that Kanu's words were loaded guns. The conviction on count 3 specifically dealt with the incitement to commit violence. But here is the tricky part. His lawyers, led by Aloy Ejimako, argued that these broadcasts were metaphorical, that they were political rhetoric. They asked, where is the gun? Where is the bomb? And they are right. No gun was found on him. So are we jailing a man for his metaphors or for the actions of people who listen to him? That is a thought that should keep you up at night. Because if we started jailing people for what their followers do, how many politicians would be free today? Drop a comment below. Do you think a leader should be jailed for life because of what his followers did after listening to his speech? Now let's move to the second major crime that landed him in Sokoto, the proscribed organization charge. This is the legal trap that Nnamdi Kanu could not escape. In 2017, the federal government declared IPOB a terrorist organization. Whether you agree with that designation or not, in the eyes of the Nigerian law, it stands. So, purely by being the leader of IPOB, Kanu was technically leading a terror group. The court ruled that managing and directing an unlawful society is a felony. But is IPOB truly a terror group in the same vein as Boko Haram or ISWAP? The defense argued no. They argued that IPOB is a self-determination movement known globally. They pointed out that no other country, not the UK, not the US, has designated IPOB as a terror group. So, we have a situation where a man is a terrorist in Abuja, but a freedom fighter in London. How does that work? It is a contradiction that screams double standard to his supporters, but to the Nigerian state, it is the law of the land. And Justice Omotosho stuck to the letter of that law. This brings us to the Sokoto connection. Why move a man convicted of broadcasts and leadership to a maximum security prison in the northwest, a region currently plagued by the Lakurawa terror group? Some are saying the crime that really landed him there wasn't in the charge sheet at all. They say his real crime was challenging the sovereignty of Nigeria. Think about it. The charge of treasonable felony is essentially saying you tried to break the country. The government views the map of Biafra not just as a dream, but as a threat to their existence. The life sentence, therefore, is not just punishment for the past, it is prevention for the future. They are locking away the idea of separation. If you are enjoying this deep breakdown and you want to be the smartest person in your WhatsApp group discussions, please take a second right now to smash that like button and subscribe to the channel. It really helps us keep bringing you this unbiased analysis. There is another angle we must touch on, the unknown gunmen link. Although Kanu was in detention when the phenomenon of unknown gunmen became rampant, the court held him vicariously liable. The judgment on count 5 linked the destabilization of the Southeast directly to his command and control structure. The prosecution argued that even from detention or through his previous orders, he created the monster that is eating the region. But his supporters scream, "Lies." They argue that the insecurity in the Southeast is politically sponsored to demonize Kanu. They point to the fact that Kanu repeatedly called for an end to the sit-at-home orders from detention. They ask, if he is the cause, why didn't the violence stop when they locked him up for 4 years? That is a very valid question. If Kanu is the problem, why has the problem persisted even while he was silenced in DSS custody? So we have a life sentence based on 1. Words, broadcasts deemed as incitement. 2. Status, leading a proscribed group. 3. Influence, being held responsible for the actions of ESN unknown gunmen. Is this justice or is it statecraft? To the families of the police officers killed in the Southeast, this judgment is long-awaited justice. They see Kanu as the man who ordered the hits on their fathers and husbands. To them, a life sentence is the minimum. But to the young man in Abba who sees Kanu as the only one speaking truth to power, this judgment is a travesty. He sees a man being punished for demanding a referendum, a democratic right. And this leads us to the final chilling thought. By sending him to Sokoto, far away from his lawyers, far away from his family, and deep into territory hostile to his cause, the government is enforcing a social death. They are not just imprisoning his body, they are trying to erase his presence. But can you imprison an ideology? Nnamdi Kanu may have committed crimes according to the Nigerian statute book. He may have used the rhetoric that was dangerous. But did he commit crimes worthy of dying in prison while bandits who kidnap school children are sometimes offered amnesty? That is the imbalance that makes this pill so hard to swallow for millions of Nigerians. The crimes are on paper, but the justice is in the eye of the beholder. What do you think? Was Nnamdi Kanu's crime his broadcasts, or was his crime simply daring to ask for a separate country? Let's get the conversation going in the comments.